Okay, so I'm going to get into this. My name's Katie Reese. I'm travel trade executive based in New York City for Visit Britain US. And with sports tourism, I'm just going to first jump into the numbers. So according to UN Tourism Sports Tourism Market Size, Share, and Trends Analysis Report, sports tourism generates around 10% of the world's expenditure on tourism, with an estimated growth of 17.5% between 2023 and 2030. So they've actually labeled this as one of the fastest growing sectors in tourism. Also with Fortune Business Insights, they shared that sports and tourism industry was valued at 707.29 billion USD in 2025 and is forecasted to nearly triple by 2032. So with Europe leading the market with the valuation of 248.23 billion last year, they say it was driven by strong sports infrastructure and year-round tournaments. So the event offers visitors both excitement and cultural immersion, but that doesn't need to be the only marquee thing that they do in destination. So from Premier League football, or as I say, soccer, matches in cutting-edge stadiums and tennis on Wimbledon's hallowed courts, to the Royal Ascot horse races, Six Nations rugby, and championship golf, there's always an epic match or contest in Britain to enjoy. And it's not just attending these events and reveling in the electric atmosphere, it's also the opportunity to participate in a sport. So golf on a championship course, get behind the wheel of a supercar to drive on the UK's only F1 track, and more. So making the trip to see your favorite team or event, like I said, it doesn't have to be the only marquee experience of the trip, as travelers capitalize on the location to create an epic itinerary, further embracing the culture of the destination. So our speakers are going to be touching upon some of these events and sports themselves. Very, very happy to have speakers from England's Gulf Coast, Silverstone Circuits, Tottenham Hotspur, and Marketing Manchester, which includes Man City and Man U. And I know it's the very end of their day, so I'm grateful they're able to join us. And I will be starting with England's Gulf Coast with Jeff. Jeff, if you wouldn't mind turning your camera on and unmute yourself, I will hand it over to you.
Hey there. Good afternoon, or perhaps good morning for some of you. My name's Jeff Harris, and I represent a collection of golf courses and hotels under the destination tagline of England's Gulf Coast. If you can go through to the next slide, please, Katie. So England's Gulf Coast is located in the northwest of England, covering the area highlighted in orange on the map that you can see there. The main city within England's Gulf Coast is Liverpool. While Liverpool has a smaller airport serving shorter haul routes, our nearest international airport is Manchester, which is just under an hour from Liverpool. Manchester have got direct flights from Atlanta, Las Vegas, Orlando, and New York on Virgin Atlantic, as well as Orlando and New York with Aer Lingus. And if we've got any Canadians listening today, Manchester also has direct flights available from Toronto with Air Canada and Air Transat. But failing that, Manchester is well served by all European hubs, or we're about a 4-hour drive from London Heathrow. But from a golfing standpoint, we are best known for our 3 Open Championship courses, which are affectionately known as the 3 Royals. If you go to the next slide, please, Katie. So the eyes of the golfing world will descend on our little part of the world this July, when Royal Birkdale will host the Open Championship. This will be the 11th time that Royal Birkdale has hosted the Open, with the last one in 2017 when American Jordan Spieth was victorious. But Royal Birkdale also has hosted 2 Ryder Cup matches, the most notable of which was the 1969 edition, which you can see in the picture there on the right-hand side, which became famous for an action sportsmanship dubbed the Concession. So a 29-year-old Jack Nicklaus, the most decorated golfer of all time, was playing in his first Ryder Cup, and was drawn to play home favourite Tony Jacklin in the Sunday singles. With the match even on the 18th green and the scores tied, Jack Nicklaus conceded a short putt to Tony Jacklin, thus halving the match and leaving the Ryder Cup tied 16-16. As he conceded the putt, Nicklaus said, "I don't think you would have missed it, but I wasn't going to give you the chance either." I think for any of you that might have watched the Ryder Cup from Bethpage last September, I'm not sure this level of sportsmanship would still be found today. You can go to the next slide, please, Katie. So the oldest of our Open Championship venues is Royal Liverpool Golf Club, or Hoylake as it's affectionately known, which was founded in 1869. The club has hosted the Open on 13 occasions, most recently in 2023 when Brian Harman was victorious. But actually, much as it's hosted it 13 times, due to space constraints that were only relieved by the club purchasing a large parcel of neighbouring land to house the media compound, the club actually had a 39-year hiatus from hosting the Open between 1967 and 2006. But thankfully, their efforts were rewarded in that their champion in that year in 2006 was Tiger Woods, as you can see in the picture there. If you can go on to the next slide, please, Katie. So the third of our sort of three royals, they're affectionately known, is Royal Lytham St Anne's Golf Club, which actually first hosted the Open exactly 100 years ago in 1926. But they've hosted 11 Opens, most recently back in 2012 when South African Ernie Els was victorious. Unfortunately, as was the case with Royal Liverpool, the club eventually ran out of space to accommodate the masses of infrastructure that was required to host the Open. However, they've recently carried out some changes to the course to create the additional space required to host an Open. So fingers crossed, we should hopefully see the Open return to Lytham in the not too distant future. And certainly with those 3 Open Championship venues, it usually leads to us having an Open roughly every 3 to 4 years maximum. And if you go on to the next slide, please, Katie. So much as it's the 3 royals that are the main draw for overseas golfing visitors, we've got a really strong supporting cast of links golf courses. For those of you lucky enough not to be doomed to the life of frustration that being a golfer brings, a links golf course is a course that is built on the sandy coastal dunes that links the land and the sea, hence the term links golf. Links golf is somewhat unique to the British Isles, with golfers from all over the world coming to sample what is considered sort of the original, truest form of the game, typified by firm running ground. So we've actually got 8 of the top 100 courses in Great Britain and Ireland within roughly an hour's drive of Liverpool. And sort of that puts it pretty much, there's no other destination in the British Isles that would have that strength and depth of championship golf. And there's really only a couple of other destinations in the world, perhaps Long Island and the Melbourne Sound Belt, that can compete for the concentration of championship golf in such a small space. And all of our courses are steeped in history and have been instrumental in shaping the game of golf. Although one of my favourite anecdotes actually involves our impact on another sport, ice hockey. I'm a member at Formby Golf Club, which you can see in the top left of your picture there. And our captain in 1901 was Lord Stanley, who, while serving as Governor General of Canada in 1893, donated the Stanley Cup. And in fact, one of our accommodation members of England's Gulf Coast is a 16-bedroom exclusive use property called Knowsley Hall, which previously served as the Stanley family home. So you can actually go and stay in his bedroom if you want. If you go on to the next slide, please, Katie. But it's not just golf that brings people to Liverpool. In fact, there was a study conducted back in 2013, which asked 1,000 Americans to name a British city other than London. And Liverpool actually came out on top. We can probably say this is likely down to 2 things. Number one would undoubtedly probably be the Beatles, which is probably Liverpool's most famous export. There are a wealth of Beatles tours and museums available throughout the city. And in fact, one of Liverpool's best known guides, Charlotte Martin, has even got a master's degree in the Beatles and popular music. So there really is a lot to see and do when you get off the golf course. You could even go to visit the Cavern Club, which is got live music all day, every day, and is most famous for the Beatles having played there 292 times between 1961 and 1963. So don't expect it to be the most luxurious barge you've ever been into, but you certainly get a sense of the history and what it must have been like back in the 60s. The other thing that Liverpool is famous for is football, or as Katie alluded to, soccer as you may know it. Liverpool's home to 2 Premier League teams, Liverpool and Everton. While Liverpool have collected far more silverware, Everton is actually the older of the 2 teams. In fact, it was only a rent dispute between Everton and their landlord that led to the formation of the Liverpool Football Club, as he needed a football team to play in the stadium that was sitting empty. While I can't argue that Liverpool's home Anfield is more of a draw for international visitors, as an Everton fan, you'll have to excuse me, I couldn't resist using an image of our new stadium on Bramley Moor Dock in the bottom left there on the presentation, which will actually serve as Liverpool's host stadium during the Euros in 2028. While it may not be quite as impressive as Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which Sam will talk you through in a bit, we're still very proud of our new home nonetheless. But football's not the only sport that Liverpool is known for. It's also home every April to the Grand National, one of the most famous horse races in the world. While the entry racecourse and its 3-day-long Grand National meeting is best known for its giant steeplechase fences, it's often the level of effort that the locals go to in getting dressed up for the races that really wows visitors, especially on Ladies' Day. It really is a sight to behold. And so certainly we do have some groups that come and try and combine playing golf and going to the Grand National, and it really does make for a great week. Northern people always claim that they're friendlier than their southern counterparts. As a southerner by birth, I find it hard, but I probably actually have to agree. And this is particularly true in Liverpool. The people are really warm, they're really friendly, and the city's got a really vibrant feel about it. I was in the city yesterday morning, and the St. Patrick's celebrations were quite something, and certainly some amount of Guinness was being consumed prior to 11 a.m. You can go on to the next slide, please, Katie. I have no idea if I'm anywhere near my 9-minute limit, but anyway, I shall finish off by explaining a little bit about England's Golf Coast. So England's Golf Coast is actually owned by its member golf clubs and hotels, and they employ myself and my colleague Jack to provide a booking service for golf tour operators like yourselves. So if you've got any clients that are interested in a golf trip to England or would like to attend one of the major championships or events that's going on in the city, please do not hesitate to get in touch. Our free open championship venues are approaching being sold out for 2026, but we do have some availability left. But we're actually already taking bookings to 2027, and there's currently plenty of space available, so we can accommodate pretty much any week that anyone's looking at in 2027 at the moment. Now, if anyone's got any questions, I do have to apologise. My wife is actually off gallivanting this evening, taking advantage of Liverpool's many cultural offerings and going to the theatre. So I'm stuck with having to go and pick my daughter up from the dance class. But if you've got any questions, please do put them in the comments. I'm sure Katie will then pass them on when we're finished, and I will come back to you with some answers. But thank you very much for your time. Yeah, if you have anything Liverpool related, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and I really appreciate your time. Going to move on to Manchester, so very close to Liverpool, and what Jeff had touched upon in terms of access. Becky, I see your camera's on, so I will hand this over to you.
Great, thank you very much. So, hello everyone, I'm Becky Abrahams. I'm one of the managers at Marketing Manchester, so the tourism board for Manchester. So I represent the city that's built on diversity, vibrancy and creativity. If we can go to the next slide, please. So before I tell you all about the fantastic sporting products that we have in Manchester, I'll just give you a bit more of a geography lesson. So you'll know that Manchester is located in the north of England, and we're surrounded by some very lovely neighbours that you can see on the map here. And we consider Manchester to be the gateway to the north of England and Wales. So Manchester has an ideal location to base yourself and create an adventure. You can start in our great city and then go and visit beautiful nearby countrysides in the Peak District, the Lake District and the Yorkshire Dales. You'll see some of our fantastic northern cities like Liverpool, Leeds or Newcastle. Or you can use Manchester as a starting point for a trip to Wales or Scotland. And of course, visitors might not want to leave Manchester once they arrive, but we think the whole of the north of England region is having a really exciting revival at the moment, and there are some amazing experiences to discover. And of course, if visitors still want to visit London before or after Manchester, our two cities are connected by a 2-hour train journey. So I thought I'd just set the scene with a short film that gives you an insight into our fantastic city.
This right here is the place. A city born to create, deciding its fate as it innovates like a machine, leading the way and keeping us green, films for screen. And did you know we invented graphene? Our music scene needs no introduction. Hundreds of venues, a factory of talent production. It's the people that make this city of culture and invention. And it's with intention that Manchester invites humans from all walks of life, always fighting for what's right and celebrating our achievements day and night. A changing skyline taking flight, 493 square miles of beauty, a welcoming haven paving the way for diversity, creating networks of minds that can flourish commercially and continue to be recognised universally. A place where sports stars keep their accolades speak, and that's no easy feat. So whether you're a fan of food, science, the arts, or a budding athlete, come and take a seat at the table of opportunity and choose red, blue, how'd you take your brew, and what to do. So on that basis, now's the time to make Manchester your oasis.
Great. So I hope that film gave you a flavour of what modern Manchester looks like, feels like, and sounds like. We're no longer a grey and gloomy post-industrial city, and we've come a very long way in a short space of time. And we might be biased, but we think our city is one of the most exciting places in Europe right now. And of course, we're a city synonymous with sport, being the UK's home of 2 football teams with 2 of the UK's biggest clubs. We're also home of the National Football Museum, but I'll come on to that shortly. In 2028, we'll also be one of the host cities for the Euros 2028 competition. However, it's not all just about football. We've been hosting a lot of different competitions, from the Davis Cup to the Tour of Britain. And we've been particularly successful in hosting women's sport, including the upcoming Women's Cricket World Cup this summer. And we'll be hosting both the men's and women's India team in June and July. And we're also very excited that the NBA has chosen Manchester as one of the only 3 cities outside of the US to host a match. So in January 2027, the NBA will bring a regular season game to the Kop Live for the first time ever. If you can go on to the next slide, please, I'll talk about Manchester City Football Club. So they offer an amazing stadium tour, which is a 75-minute experience, and you can see all of the costs for these various tours on the screen. They also have a VR experience, and you can add on to the Academy Stadium tour as well. They also feature a VIP stadium tour, so that is 120 minutes, so you get to see a few more secret spaces of the stadium. They also have educational stadium tours, so students of all levels can gain a fascinating insight into the high-performing world of Manchester City. And if you go on to the next slide, there's some more tour options here. So you can walk with a Legends tour, so you can hear firsthand from a former player. They have match day pitch-side walking tours, so you can soak up the atmosphere of the Etihad on match day. And they also offer sensory and relaxed stadium tours. So Manchester City are committed to ensuring that everyone can enjoy the stadium tour with their sensory and relaxed stadium tours. You can contact the stadium tour teams for further information, and we'll share those details in the follow-up. All of their experiences are designed to be accessible to all, ensuring every fan can enjoy an unforgettable visit. And on the next slide, I'm going to talk about the really exciting £300 million entertainment district that is being built currently next to the Etihad Stadium. And it finally has a name. It's going to open later this year, and it'll be known as Medlock Square. The development is part of an ongoing transformation of the Etihad campus in East Manchester, and the area now combines the Etihad Stadium, the Kop Live Arena, and a growing cluster of new hotels, attractions, and hospitality spaces. When Medlock Square launches, the idea is that it won't just be a place people pass through on the way to a match or a gig. It's being positioned as a destination in its own right. The name comes from River Medlock, which runs beneath the site and through much of Manchester's historic industrial heartlands. It's a small nod to the city's past in a project that is very much focused on the future. Headline features is a skywalk experience that will take visitors high above the site with panoramic views across Manchester's skyline. And for anyone that's feeling a little bit braver than that, there will also be a zip wire and abseiling experience, turning the stadium complex into something closer to an adventure destination than a traditional fan zone. It's a pretty ambitious mix of uses, but the thinking is that it will appeal to multiple types of visitors. Match-going football fans, concert crowds from the Kop Live, or tourists staying in the area, and locals looking for something to do. Part of that visitor offer is already open, and the Medlock Hotel is the new 401 bedroom Radisson Blu, and it began taking bookings earlier this year and has reportedly already seen strong early demand. With the Co-op Live now bringing major global tours to the area and the Etihad continuing to host major football fixtures and events, the hotel gives the campus a much bigger accommodation base than it previously had. And the development also ties closely into the North Stand expansion, which is currently underway at Etihad Stadium. And that work will add around 7,000 additional seats, taking the stadium's capacity beyond 60,000, alongside new hospitality areas, a redesigned city store, and an immersive museum dedicated to the club. And if we go on to the next slide, I will go to the other side of the city and talk about Manchester United. So in 2028, they will be celebrating their 150th anniversary. So we'll see how they plan to celebrate that. Alongside that, they do offer a stadium tour, so you can enjoy the magic of the Theatre of Dreams with a truly special experience. This is also a 70-minute journey, and you follow in the footsteps of famous players. You can experience the dressing rooms, players' tunnels, dugouts, and the press conference room. Additionally, you can do a match day dugout tour. So this is where you can experience the stadium tour in the hours surrounding a busy match day. On the next slide, there's some further tours that you can do. So take to the pitch, and this is where you can step onto the pitch for a unique 15-minute coaching session on the famous turf. This is in addition to the Old Trafford tour. You can also do Carrington tours, and this is a relatively new experience that launched this year, and it is the tour of the redesigned state-of-the-art training facility, which is a unique experience for £100. And then onto the next slide, I'll just touch on National Football Museum. So this is really great whether you're a die-hard football fan, planning to visit with your family, or on a weekend break to the great city of Manchester. So you can enjoy the National Football Museum, which is currently open Wednesdays through to Sunday, and delve into the social history and culture of the much-loved sport, with fascinating objects and changing exhibitions showing how football became the game of our lives. And then finally, on the next slide, that's kind of everything for me. It was a very brief run through for Manchester and its sporting product. I've got those details below, and we're more than happy to help with itinerary suggestions, images, films, contacts to various products, whether you might need to help sell Manchester and the north of England. And you can scan that QR code where you can access all of our media and travel trade resources. And that's everything from me. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Becky. And I was just in Manchester in January and was able to do a Man City stadium tour. And I just thought it was fascinating, the design choices that better help the home team. So I think just getting that tour for any of these soccer stadiums give that insight you wouldn't have thought about.
Yeah, a lot of psychological play.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Becky.
Thank you.
I'm going to shift gears to Silverstone circuits. Joe, I'm going to ask you to turn your camera on. Great. And microphone is on, and I will hand it over to you.
Good. Super. Thank you all. Yeah, fantastic. My name is Joe. I'm one of the business development managers at Silverstone circuit. I'm going to run through some, obviously, of our new developments, what we've also got on track, of course, also what the venue is used for. I think there's a very common misconception around it being one race a year, being the F1, and being very dormant for the rest of it. So if we just crack on to the next slide, please, Kate. What I'll show you here is actually just a bit more about the locations. So as you can see, very centrally located within the UK, and within touching distance of some of the major cities. One of the actual ironic facts that people aren't aware of is actually we're closer to Luton Airport, the international airport, than the central of London are. So in terms of transport links, we're very accessible through all major cities, and of course over major events when we house the F1, we have around, I think last year was 520,000 people over site across 3 days. So in terms of transport links, if you just pop to the next slide, you'll be able to understand a bit more about how we are accessible. With that, like I say, obviously there's a few closed train stations. Of course, also the bus links are fantastic, and across over major events as well. Of course, there's a huge amount of support that goes into making sure that fans that come from all over have not only got parking, but then of course also the ability to find us through private air charter as well. It's actually 25 minutes from Battersea helipad to Silverstone. So in terms of getting towards site and of course also away, extremely easy, very accessible, and also the ability for us to kind of leverage all of the space that we've got across track, and of course use that to our benefit when we do have either major events on, or alternatively if people are coming to visit us outside of that for track experiences and everything else that we do have on offer. Just going to the next slide as well. With this, of course, one of the fantastic opportunities that we do. Oh, I'll play this video first, sorry. Snapshot of the F1 film. Now, as you can see, this was actually filmed at Silverstone over an extended period of time, which brings another element, another opportunity to the track that we have started to step into, which of course is content production. So not only, of course, is it very on brand with it being an F1 film, but then also the ability for us to be used for different sites, for different ideas, and of course also the different spaces that we've got are used and filmed for backdrops for a multitude of events. This actually was filmed over one of the F1 weekends when it was at Silverstone, so that's why you can see obviously the massive amount of fans, of course, hoardings and everything else that is also available around track. Just moving on to the next slide as well. For us, it's about being able to build Silverstone as a destination. So whilst, of course, the mainstay around the track, of course, is the track itself, and the ability for us to host kind of global F1 and motorsport events, we've now grown out our ability to host other corporate avenues as well, from conferences, Christmas parties, to Red Bull High Rocks events. We are a very multifunctional site. Just moving on to the next slide, you can also see that even with this, here is a snapshot of the site itself and the track, but we're all about what is possible within this track itself and of course the spaces that we occupy. We have 5 different conferences in the spaces, which we'll see in a second, but then of course also the ability for all of the inner track to be used for a massive amount and different array of opportunities as well. Just moving on to the next slide as well, you'll be able to see with that we've also had the ability for corporate festivals and glamping. One thing that we are known for is our ability to have TP tents over major events where people come and live for 4 or 5 days at a time. But then also this can, of course, can be used as something over non-major events and of course in the run up to them as well. Just moving on to the next slide as well. This is just a quick snapshot of just one of the 5 different halls that we do have. This gives you an idea around the space. The reason why we've picked this one out in the middle, of course, is with the free Silverstone cars. We've actually had a many amount of different kind of car launches, but then of course also the ability for clients to come in and use a space, kind of create something that is entirely bespoke to them. So not only are we talking about the kind of trade travel that we get from the US in terms of businesses, but also of course then the ability for normal consumers to use it as well. Just move on to the next slide. This as well is just another idea. So what you can see here on the left-hand side, sorry, is not only a conference, but also the ability for us to use this space in more of the theatre style. So it just shows the amount of versatility that the space has got itself. And then just to the next one. So as well as that, of course, over the F1 weekends and major events, we also have our international media centres. So this is when the world's press, radio descend onto Silverstone, and of course have the ability to then broadcast over their international streams back to their respective countries. With this, of course, that space is then able to be used for other media opportunities as well, be it across major races, but then of course also outside of that. And I think in terms of that space, we've also seen some very small conferences, but in terms of kind of backstage areas, green rooms as well, the multifunction use of there, of course, is very large and wide as well. Just skipping to the next one, I believe. Yes, so this is the auditorium. Now, within these spaces, of course, a lot of the F1 film was also filmed within these rooms. So in terms of the ability for us to use that, one of the things that is always quite handy is actually to be able to do a behind the scenes tour. So whilst, of course, we're a racetrack, you can race your own cars here. There are so many opportunities. One thing that we do see a massive influx in, especially now, of course, the F1 film is kind of embedded into the Silverstone DNA, is actually the ability for us to do the behind-the-scenes tours of the spaces that were used. What this space also represents is actually where the driver's briefing is pre-F1. So what you're looking at is where every single driver, race kind of principal and team principal will sit and have their briefing sessions each morning before they go out on track as well. Just pop into the next slide, please. Super. So this just shows you that in terms of the garage blocks and the F1 pits, whilst of course they are used in huge amounts with regard to the motorsport element, actually we've also converted them into some different events. So as you can see, there's actually a corporate showcase here. We've had, as I say, Red Bull High Rocks, we've had DJs and kind of all-nighter raves in there as well. So in terms of the dimensions, you can see they're not only huge, but also the ability for them to be used for a various different array of activities as well. Just on to the next one, please. So in terms of one of the opportunities we do have, of course, is utilising the driving experiences that we've got on site for our guests and our clients. What you can see actually in the top left-hand corner here is the 4 different configurations within the Silverstone track. It's been built so that we can run 2 consecutive events without them really ever touching in terms of kind of not only client experience, but of course also the racetrack itself. Now, front and centre, of course, is 3 of our 7 different supercars that we've got within the stable. So we've actually just bought a new Ferrari. So the one on the right-hand side is a little bit outdated, but we still have it as well. The McLaren in the middle, and of course also the Aston Martin. So what we're also able to do is, and this is hugely popular with tourists as well, is actually the ability for them to drive the Silverstone track in its entirety in one of our supercars. Also, we have driving tuition with our race drivers and also some of our single-seater experiences. So in terms of being able to utilise the track as well as off-track experiences, this is something that is provided very popular, and of course also gives that I think the thrill and the edge that you wouldn't be able to find elsewhere, being able to drive the same lines as all the race heroes that you may have as well. And on the next slide, please, we'll just have a look now at Escapade. So what you're looking at here is our actual private estate that is located right next to the international circuit. So Escapade was built in mind with a boutique hotel. So there are 60 private residences with a huge amount of different configurations. So in terms of actually being able to stay at Silverstone, this is the place to do it. So in the first picture on the left-hand side, you can see what are our countryside residences. Now, there are 3 different configurations: countryside, dual aspect, and trackside. They are very much what they say on the tin in terms of their views. Of course, dual aspects has a countryside element and also the track element. What you can actually see in the picture in the blue behind is actually one of the views from one of the residences and the balcony that is next to it. So in terms of being able to come and stay at Silverstone and be able to use our facilities, that is exactly what it looks like. And just quickly moving on. That is one of our trackside residences, so you can understand a bit more around actually what that living space looks like. And then the next one, and I think we can pretty much skip through some of these. This just gives you a bit of an idea around, of course, what this looks like, and the gallery, which is our main restaurant, and of course our communal space that you can use throughout not only the race days, but of course also anyone that does stay there as well. Just moving forward through these, this is some of our private spaces within the Escapade as well. So you can just start to understand more around what obviously ability you've got for private events within that space. The next one, and also our partnership, of course, with the Hilton, which is also on site in terms of another residential space that we do have on as well. And just the final few, just the next slide, the museum. So of course we are a heritage site. Quintessentially, we are British in all of our kind of aspects. This is an ode to our history, our past, through our motorsport, but of course also F1, MotoGP, etc. So the museum is actually another destination that people can come into on site. It has a lot more of a base around, of course, what we've kind of been through, what we've gone through, but of course also where we're going as well, and the heritage of Silverstone. Just on to the next one. I think we're nearly there. We can skip through some of these, but just to give you a reference point, of course, we also have hospitality available for F1. And the next few slides, we can pass through, just give you a bit of a flavour of course, what each of these different experiences have on store. So just really each of them have a different kind of personality, a different feel, of course, are tailored to a different demographic. So there is quite literally something for everybody in terms of the hospitality we do have over F1. As you can see, that's a quick picture at the back of one of the Escapade residences. So we can keep going on through them. That's not an issue at all. But yeah, this just gives you an idea, of course, of all of our different hospitality options that we have. And of course, also what we would like to put on over the F1 races. And then I believe one of the final slides is, just skip this one for me, please, is our karting. So this is our newest addition to the track, is our karting track, bookable for single spaces, corporate parties, birthdays, whatever it might be. It incorporates some of the old track we do also have, but then of course also the ability for you to have pizza. There's a pizza restaurant on site as well. So in terms of the functionality of the karting track and the building next to it, it's a really fantastic space, something that you could come and visit and do that to the museum, that and a stay. Obviously, there's ability to have a really holistic viewpoint across the track as well. And then just onto the, I believe one is the final slides, is of course also the ability for us to work with the North American travel trade. So for us, of course, one of our USPs is being a really quintessentially British sporting venue. Of course, we have a not too huge amount of history of 75 years of F1. Of course, you can see there's some of the year-round attractions we have, from karting, drive experiences, escapade, the museum. They're all on site, which means that in terms of that holistic opportunity, there is huge amounts there. Touching base, obviously, on the kind of transport links and the ability for us to be very centred within the UK, but of course also the ability for those to fly in that need to. And finally, obviously, how just multifunctional we are from a commercial standpoint as well. And I believe that ends all of the slides. So as you can see, we are far more than just a venue. But anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Joe. And I know the Formula One has a very passionate fan base, and with the documentary and that movie, it's really shot up in popularity.
There's a global phenomenon, I think, is what's going on, but it's yeah, nothing but good things for us as well. But yeah, thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you, Joe. And finally, I'm going to hand this over to Sam with Tottenham Hotspur. So it's so much more than soccer here as well. I'm a big NFL football fan, so with my Baltimore Ravens. So I know Sam will touch upon that at one point as well. So Sam, here, handing it over to you. And we're starting off with the video, so I can press play once we get over there.
So hi everyone, lovely to meet you. I'm Sam, the travel trade manager from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And yeah, we'll start with a video just to show you the construction of our fantastic new home built in North London. So the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we're based in North London, in Tottenham. The new stadium opened in 2019, so it's built on the former footprint of the old White Hart Lane Stadium. The new one has a capacity of around 62,300 seats, and it's well known as the home of Tottenham Hotspur, which are one of the Premier League's top football clubs. We're also a multi-purpose stadium, so you may have noticed in the video before that we also host NFL matches. So we have 2 official NFL matches per year, and that is a contract which will be ongoing until 2030. So this October we'll have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Washington Commanders that we play in a match. We've also got a host stadium for Euro 2028, and we have many concerts as well. So Previously, we've welcomed Beyonce for 7 nights over the summer. We've had Lady Gaga and Kendrick Lamar. And this summer, we've got Bad Bunny, who's just played at the Super Bowl alongside Queens of the Stone Age and the Gorillaz. And then from a travel trade perspective, we actually have 3 visitor attractions. So we're very lucky to have a whole destination for visitors to explore. So we have the stadium tours, the Dare Skywalk, and F1 Drive London. So I'm just going to move on and start with the stadium tours. So the stadium tours take you in the footsteps of all your favourite stars. So you get to have a behind-the-scenes look of where all the players prepare for a match day. You get to go into the home and away dressing rooms, pitch side, in the manager's dugout, take in the fantastic views of the Stadium Bowl. We do also have the purpose-built NFL facilities. So the NFL home and away dressing room are completely separate from all of the Premier League setup. They're actually much larger than some of the Premier League facilities that we have, because the teams are much larger and the number of players that they have. We also have some specific NFL themed hospitality suites. So we've got the Commissioner's Suite, we've got the Lombardi Trophy. Most of our tours operate as a free flow self-guided tour, and we have multimedia audio guides, and tours are available daily from 10:30 till 4. Next slide, please. And we also have our group tours. So we usually recommend around 30 people on the tour. This is a 90-minute guided experience delivered in English. And we have local tour guides. So a lot of the guides live locally to the stadium, and they're able to give some fantastic insight into the history of the club dating back to 1882. Next slide, please. Quite an interesting variation on the technical tour. So with the stadium being fairly new and quite a massive architectural achievement, this tour allows you to explore from different angles and learn a little bit about the engineering and architectural decisions. So you're able actually to go underneath the pitch. So we have a moving pitch which goes underneath the south stand, and we're able to see, why we have, for example, the trees that hold up the south stand, and some of the different areas around the stadium which you can't see on the standard stadium tour. Next slide, please. Our second visitor attraction is the Dare Skywalk. So this is a rooftop walk. Visitors, they actually get ready at a separate area. We have our own briefing area where you can get kitted out into all the harnesses. And then you're able to ascend the stadium from the outside. Once you get up there, there's a large rooftop space, which gives you some fantastic views of the London skyline. And then you're able to actually walk out onto the apex. So as you can see here, we've got a group that are walking out. It's got all of a glass walkway, so you can see straight down into the stadium bowl below. And then you're able to even actually go up and touch what is the golden cockerel. So that is part of the club's iconic crest and one of the iconic emblems of the club. And then we also serve beer and Prosecco on the top, so while you're enjoying the view. And for those of you that want an extra experience on top, we do offer an abseil. Next slide, please. So you can just see that from a different angle. It's a 90-minute experience, and this operates at the similar times to the stadium tour. So especially when the weather's good in the summer, it's really good. We can bundle these together as a package as well with the standard stadium tour. Next slide, please. So the third visitor attraction is F1 Drive London. So this is an official Formula One go-karting track. It's actually based underneath the south stand. So if you imagine, it's approximately the size of a Premier League football pitch. So it's, really big. It's a 500-meter circuit, which is inspired by F1 street circuits. So we actually work very closely with Formula One, and they were able to provide their technical expertise. Provides a really good challenge. The karts are engineered with F1 technology as well. So if you're familiar with watching Formula One on TV, we've actually got Crofty, who does our briefing videos. You're able to see all of the track layout on your bespoke wheels and in-screen digital displays. We have F1 engine sounds, and then all the features that you would expect on a Formula One actual Formula One car. So we've got DRS and ERS, which we can use. It's quite a unique karting experience. We offer several different session types for different visitors. So the main one is our mixed grid, which is fantastic for families. We have two different types of carts. We have the adult carts for ages 14 plus. We have the junior carts for ages 8 to 13. The mixed grid session allows both of those carts to race together. So it's fantastic for families, really good if you have like adult and child that would like to race together. And this comes in a 15-minute practice format. And then you have a 15-minute sprint where you're competing to set the fastest lap times. Next slide, please. And then the elite session, which is the full experience. So these are on the adult carts only. We also allow these to go a little bit faster. You get a 15-minute practice session, and then you get to set your qualifying time. You come off, have a little bit of a break. After that, you go back on in the order of where you qualified. So we do a proper grid start race, wheel-to-wheel racing throughout, and then we even do a podium presentation with some F1 trophies for the winners at the end. So really good Instagram opportunity and something we can share on social media. Next slide, please. The stadium's got some really unique conferencing and event spaces. So this is an example of one of our NFL rooms. So this is actually the NFL home locker room. We can do this for different setups. So you can have it in a cabaret style, a theatre style. Next slide, please. We also have the H Club, so this can be seen on part of the stadium tour, but this is again another sort of event space that we can host private dining in, for example. So if you have a group that would like to do a stadium tour and maybe they would like to do a Q&A with one of our legends and have a meal, then we could sort of host them in this space. We are a very digital first stadium as well, so you notice that we've got lots of digital signage, data points, Wi-Fi, and all of our hospitality suites have pitch side views as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then our food and beverage offer is, really, really strong. So we actually have our own brewery on site, which is called our Beavertown Brewery. So this is in the South Stand and actually provides a lot of the beer for our match days and for the NFL matches as well. We also have our own pastry bakery, and a lot of the food is all produced on site, fresh on the day. So we can provide a wide range of different meals, everything from sort of a traditional fish and chips or possibly an afternoon tea, all the way up to a 5 sort of course fine dining experience in a more private space as well. So lots of flexibility across the different spaces that we have in the stadium, and we have the catering facilities as well to provide for that. And then finally, just to give you a little bit of an overview, so yeah, we are based in North London, so you can access us on the Tottenham High Road. We have coach drop-off and pick-up facilities for groups. We're also really accessible by public transport, which is a great sustainable way to come to the stadium. So I would personally recommend using the overground from Liverpool Street, which gets you to White Hart Lane. This is literally a 2-minute walk straight into the stadium. But we also have connections via Tottenham Hale and Seven Sisters if you want to go on the underground and connect into the Victoria line. And we also have connections with National Rail into Stratford and Stamford Airport via Northumberland Park. So really well located and also great for groups and itineraries that have central London experiences and they want to find something on the way in or out of London as they're maybe going off to Stonehenge or Oxford or other areas across the country as well. So yeah, thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can get in touch with me on my email address, which is samuel.o'brien@tottenhamhotspur.com. We work a lot with the travel trades across all of our visitor attractions. We offer competitive trade rates with commission and lots of flexible booking options. So we can take bookings via email, portal access, and we can also explore direct API connections as well. So we have all of the tech. But yeah, that's everything from me. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Sam. The technical tour sounds fascinating with the engineering aspect. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, it's very, very popular overseas. We get a lot of uni students coming as well that want to, probably doing some sort of like STEM in their course. And yeah, we get lots of different interesting visitors that come to see how the stadium was built.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. we are just going to wrap up with providing some of Visit Britain's key trade resources. And we will be sending again this recording to everybody once it's uploaded to the YouTube page. And I'll leave you with everyone's contact information. If you have any questions, take this time to put it in the Q&A. Otherwise, you have everyone's contact information here. And I will send a follow-up email with everyone's contact information, all of our speakers. So again, speakers, thank you so much for joining us. A very well-rounded view of some of the sports you can do, and a lot of exciting activities coming up this year and beyond. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.